Welcome back to another Minecraft and gym video. Go ahead and plug in your headphones and maybe listen to this before you go to the gym. Relax if you have to, because this is going to be 7 ways to fix 90% of your problems. Now right off the bat, I'm going to leave timestamps below so you can kind of jump around if you'd like, but if not, I'm going to give my 2 cents on all of these points, which are going to be nutrition, sleep, hydration, exercise, stress management, avoiding toxicity, and social connections. So you guys really enjoyed my last Minecraft and gym video, and as you know, I'm making all kinds of videos, talking videos, so if you haven't checked them out, go ahead and do so. If you're new here, go ahead and subscribe. I do Minecraft talking videos where I try to focus on mental health, maybe some philosophy, and definitely a little bit of fitness. So if we're going to talk about most people's health problems, the biggest solutions are going to be the 7 points that I'm going to be talking about today. Now, in no way am I a doctor, in no way am I telling you to go against something that was prescribed to you, but I am going to be pretty blunt and straightforward on what's going to help you get rid of your tiredness, your fatigue, your chronic fatigue, maybe your lack of motivation. Could even lead into your mental health and even depression a little bit. I'm talking from my experience and research that I've looked into, and I really just want to highlight a lot of that stuff because what I try to do here is try to help people, whether it's relaxing and listening to a cool little Minecraft video or trying to get some knowledge out of it. So in this video, I'm going to be talking about different ways that can and will improve your life if you start applying at least a handful of all of these subjects. And if you can balance out all 7 and try to implement them throughout your life, even just a little bit at a time, you're going to see a significant difference in your physical and your mental health. So enough of that, I'm going to jump right into it. First one being nutrition. Now, this one's a little bit hard for a lot of people to kind of tackle, especially when you're not super knowledgeable, but you're trying to be healthy, you're trying to be healthier, and there's just so much knowledge. Even if you think you know, you can also agree that there's just so much knowledge and a lot of BS that kind of floats around the internet on what diets to follow, what type of food you should be eating, or what type of food you should be avoiding. So to sum a lot of that research, bro science, and whatever you're going to run into, the main ones that you really want to focus on is eating whole, nutrient-dense foods. Now, I selected all of those words mainly because they're used in trying to describe what people should eat, but in reality, you're looking at fruits, vegetables, lean protein, and healthy fats, right? So to put it simple, you want a lot of color in your food. If you can't, or you have certain restrictions, whether they're religious or, even just moral, you still want to find nutrient-dense foods and you want to implement them slowly into your diet. Stuff that is grown organically and you can buy it fresh off the produce aisle is always going to be pretty colorful. And those type of foods are going to hold a lot of micronutrients. What that basically means is it's going to have a lot of vitamins. Vitamins, are good. A lot of minerals and electrolytes, all which are necessary for you to have a pretty well-sustainable circulatory system, digestive system, good blood work, and overall it's going to help prevent stuff from mineral and vitamin deficiencies to headaches to potential health problems. And then moving to the other little selection of foods, lean proteins and healthy fats, look at what looks healthy depending on your moral standards, your religious standards. I recognize that people do have to account for that, but to give some examples for lean protein, you're gonna be looking at eggs, which is also a great source of healthy fats. Now, eggs have a lot of cholesterol. However, something that was thrown around for a while is that eating a lot of eggs or having a lot of eggs in your diet can be bad unless you already have an underlying disease or a precursor to a disease. Then sure, you don't want to get those triglycerides or cholesterol levels up. However, eggs, great source of vitamin A, great source of protein, great source of cholesterol, because in moderation, to not really dive too deep into it, it is healthy for the human body. It's healthy for men and women. Moving on to chicken, turkey, lean beef, all of these things cooked properly and mixed with the other nutrient-dense foods, and you're going to be looking at a big change already. You want to be avoiding processed foods. Sure, every once in a while, go out, get a cheat meal. I'm all for that, but you want to be avoiding stuff that has a lot of saturated fat. So we're talking about the fast foods right here. A lot of excessive sugar, which means your sodas, your candies, chips, stuff like that. You're going to be avoiding a lot of that, a lot of your oil that you might be cooking with. Maybe try to find a healthier replacement. This already impacts your life so much. because what it's going to do is it's going to give your body the micro and macronutrients it needs to survive and thrive. To finish up with the bullet points, you want to get a good amount of fiber, good amount of vitamins and minerals in your system. If you want to go the extra mile, you can get your blood work done, and that's how you can really see what you're deficient in. I do not recommend going out and getting a whole bunch of supplements, a whole bunch of multivitamins. Those are really just there to take your money. Instead, just do a little bit of research. Perhaps this video is the Kickstarter for that, and see what little things you could start doing to maintain a healthy eating style, which is going to affect your digestion, your immune system, and your mental health. Couple little more random facts. If you keep your stomach satiated, good amount of protein, you're going to stay full with lean whole foods. Your immunity is going to skyrocket when you have a lot of these vitamins and minerals. You're not going to get sick as often. And then lastly, the part that I'm really just going to focus on probably on all of these little subcategories is going to be your mental health. Having a good amount of healthy fats and protein, a lot of that goes into your brain, and your brain uses a ton of the food that you eat. Anyways, I think that was a good little Kickstarter. Second one, which goes hand in hand with nutrition, is going to be sleep. Now, personally, I'm just going to put it right out there. Out of all of these 7 ways, this is the one that I still need to work on. I have my own excuses on why I can't get 7 to 9 hours of sleep. However, that's what you want. You want to have, or try to have, 7 to 9 hours of quality sleep, which is going to help recovery, mental health, hormone regulation, and even weight control. Now, I understand as you get older, life gets harder. You're not going to be able to always sustain that type of sleeping schedule. However, if you do, just keep it in the back of your head and just try to go to bed a little bit early. Maybe put that project or that show aside for another time. See if you can. But getting enough sleep is, if anything, the pinnacle of mental health. If you get enough sleep, your cortisol levels are going to be naturally low. You'll have little spikes here and there, like when you wake up, or obviously when you have chronic stress, but it's going to help your hormones. It's going to help increase your testosterone, which moving forward, you're going to see that is a big part also. It's going to help your recovery. So if you're already lifting weights, but you're not sleeping well, I kind of fall into this category. You might not be getting everything that you can. Poor sleep is linked to heart disease, obesity, and depression. So if you can just try to manage to get 7 to 9 hours of sleep, then you're going to be pretty solid. Moving on to number 3, it's going to be hydration. Obviously, that means water. However, here's a couple little things that you may not have thought about, or just a quick little reminder, but being dehydrated causes fatigue. It causes headaches, joint pain, poor digestion, and brain fog. On top of that, I know a lot of you may not have this problem, but it's good to think about it and good to know. Drinking a lot of water, like if you're really just trying to chug a bunch of water, drinking a lot of water isn't always enough. You want to have enough electrolytes as well. That's your potassium, your magnesium, and your sodium. So to kind of throw out a couple foods, you got strawberries, maybe low sugar energy drinks or sports drinks, bananas, and salt. I take a magnesium supplement. That's something you can do. You do want to have a good amount of water and a good amount of electrolytes every day so that your body can stay hydrated and start using that circulatory system to the max. This is severely underrated in fixing a lot of health issues. If you're someone that has a lot of headaches, most likely 90% of those headaches are caused by dehydration. So maybe just think about drinking a little bit more water, having a little bit more electrolytes in your diet, and it's going to go a long way. All right, moving on to number 4, and this is going to be my favorite one, man. I could talk. This is why I started the channel, right? But I digress a little bit. Number 4 is going to be exercising. Just like the nutrition, this is going to be a topic where you're going to see so many programs, so many facts and pseudoscience and bro science and all of these things just floating around that you just don't know what to listen. Even someone who has been lifting for years, I still have to kind of dive deep and try to figure out the good knowledge versus just the filler knowledge, whatever someone just came up with because it kind of worked for them. So to put it simple for you guys, and I kind of already said it, find something that works for you, but that is also backed up by a good show of evidence and working, and listening to people that are in the similar sport or area of focus that you're going to be in. So we got anywhere from being a cardio junkie to a gym rat to a CrossFitter. We have a whole bunch of things. I'm someone who I would consider myself a hybrid athlete. I like to do a little bit of everything, but I love to lift heavy weights. And I want to really emphasize this point. Strength and muscle mass is highly correlated to how long and how healthy you're going to live. Studies show that people that have more muscle mass are just going to live longer. Now, given that nothing bad happens to you, right? Having more muscle mass means you have better control on your metabolism. You have a pretty good diet. You're probably not going to suffer from obesity or chronic chronic diseases, but I am using the word probably in there. Strength training, especially, and I really like to point this out to my female clients, strength training is going to help prevent injuries and joint pain and potential, and it supports bone and joint health in the long term. Obviously, men, just as women, have to worry about your bones and your ligaments and your tendons kind of degrading as you age, but it really does happen, and it's something that should be sitting in the back of your head a little bit. If you're younger and maybe you haven't really been working out too much, try to stress out your joints, try to impact them to the point where they can get just a little bit dense throughout the years, because trust me, older you is going to thank you a ton. Now, you can take this to the extreme, however, I'm not really going to focus about that in this video. This is just general, straightforward knowledge on how to improve your life. Strength is going to help a ton. Cardio is going to help improve heart health, endurance, and stress management. That's the big one. Exercising can be a great outlet, which bleeds into the mental health aspect. Movement in general, even if you're walking, it's going to help prevent stiffness, obesity, and chronic diseases. We are meant to move, and I start feeling depressed for sure when I'm sick or when I take some time off from the gym. Now, that's just me, right? But even people that just are regular gym goers, you've got to have this itch to just do something. You have this energy. You had this energy when you were a kid. You're gonna have it when you get older. And if anything, you want to have it when you get older. So to kind of wrap this section up, if you plan on going to the gym, or if you are going to the gym, keep at it, get a membership. If you can't afford a membership, try to see what movements and what workouts you can do at home. It's gonna help your life improve a lot. Moving on to number 5, it's gonna be stress management. So now we're kind of going into not necessarily a physical aspect, but a more mental focused, a more lifestyle type of a subject, which obviously is going to be stress management. I mentioned it earlier. Cortisol is a hormone that is naturally produced in the body when your body is stressed. Cortisol can lead to weight gain, anxiety, depression, and heart issues, both psychological and physical. However, there are times in your daily cycle when cortisol is okay. When you're working out, cortisol increases because cortisol is also linked to anxiety, which is linked to your flight or fight response. It also gets elevated. If anything, it's the most elevated when you wake up. And if I could just throw like a little bit of a pro tip, if I may, let your cortisol settle down upon the first 60 to 90 minutes after you wake up. That's when you're most stressed. We all struggle getting out of bed. Let your body wake up. Don't just start shoving a whole bunch of caffeine into it. If you can, wait 60 to 90 minutes as you're getting ready to go to work or on your way to work. Get that coffee, let it just cool off a little bit if you can, and then start drinking it at least about an hour after your waking time. Another thing that heightens cortisol is going to be your chronic stress. That can be your job, your family, your relationships. This can be managed depending on the individual. But what I would like to say, or a rule of thumb, is if you can already kind of sleep your 6 to 8 hours, 7 to 9 hours, if you're chronically stressed from work, life in general, but you could still fall asleep without being too anxious, that chronic stress is okay, because you're not going to get rid of your chronic stress. However, if you're losing sleep because of your stress, if you're not eating because of your stress, if you're forgetting to do something, or you're just fatigued all the time and just worn down, you need to start looking at other aspects of your life on how you can improve that, who you can talk to, how you can compromise with life itself to lower that chronic stress, to kind of just give you a little bit of things that can help you, even if you can't change your work life, your home life. Number 1, try to exercise. Number 2, see if you can include some sort of meditation or deep breathing. If you don't believe in meditation, okay, that's fine. Try to take some moments to just gather yourself, play some Minecraft, maybe whip out a notebook and journal. Try to limit stuff that can lead into a toxic environment, and just try to dedicate little outlets throughout the day or at the end of your day. Or maybe if you can only help but fit it in at the end of the week, on the weekends, then do that. But stress management, make sure it's in the back of your head as well, and see how you can try to maneuver around your life and try to fix it just a little bit. Now, moving on to number 6. I titled this one Avoiding Toxins, because this one can be, this can be a video in of itself. It's a psychological and a physical subject depending on the individual. I'm just going to be straightforward. If you're drinking, smoking, drugs, etc., try your best and see how you can limit them. Medications would actually fall into this as well. However, I'm going to reiterate what I said in the beginning. This video is not to overshadow things that have been prescribed to you. It is just to to add to it, it's an addition. But it is important to note that drugs, whether prescribed or not prescribed, can definitely affect your quality of life. Another big one is going to be try to limit your blue light before you go to bed. What that is the light that is given off by OLED monitors, LED light bulbs, anything that is pretty white or blue and shining in your face is giving you blue light. If you can, try to go for a more natural orangey type of light. Try to put your blue light filters on your devices if you can't get rid of them altogether a couple of hours before bed. But I like the subject under avoiding toxins, because these are things that are toxic to your mind or your body, and what can be toxic to your mind is eventually going to be toxic for you as a whole. So now that we touched base on the devices a little bit, here's the last bullet point. Try to avoid toxic digital environments. This is going to be your Instagram, your Reddit, your TikTok. Thank God I never got into TikTok for sure. It can even be YouTube, doom scrolling on shorts, whatever, and you know what it is. You know that you spend a lot of time on certain apps. If they can be toxic in any way, try to avoid them. Try to limit them. Try to schedule them. If you really can't cut them out of your life, try to put some limits, some time limits on them. But really just start purging your Instagram, start purging your social medias, and see what you really need or don't need in your life. Me personally, I like to keep Reddit and YouTube. I also have an Instagram, Facebook, etc., right? However, those I've already programmed my mind to not use them too much, or I'm just going to use them to look for specific interests, which I can also make a future video on how you can adapt to the digital lifestyle. But yeah, to kind of wrap this section up, try to avoid toxins. And the last one, just as important as all these other 6 points, is going to be social connections. Now, again, this can be a video in of itself. Social connection, I don't necessarily mean go out and talk to people. I might actually mean the opposite. Again, it depends on the individual. If you are an introvert or an extrovert, your guys' social batteries are going to be vastly different. For example, I'm extroverted. I love to be around people. I love to be in a packed gym. I work in a very social environment, and I don't really get drained from that. However, I do really enjoy when I'm alone. So that's my natural recharging time, is when I can be alone, just focusing on my hobbies or my interests. If you're the opposite and you're already pretty alone and you're still kind of down, maybe try going out and exposing yourself to other social environments. Bottom line, humans are very, very social. We need to have strong connections. We need to have strong relationships to improve mental health and even physical health. This kind of bleeds into the last topic that I was talking about, but if you have toxic relationships, toxic friendships, cut them out or see how you can improve that said relationship. Social connections matter a ton, even digitally. I personally want to create some sort of a Discord or some sort of group where I can talk to you guys. The more videos I produce, the more I get pretty heartfelt messages on them. So I want to start connecting with you guys more. And I can't help but to include that in these 7 ways to improve your life. Everyone needs some sort of a social connection. Regulated to their own manner, that's fine, but everyone needs it. Anyways, I hope this was a decent video. It wasn't really gym focused, but it's definitely health and mental health focused. So if you liked the video, go ahead and subscribe, maybe give me a comment, leave any feedback, and maybe let me know what would you like me to talk about next. I'm having a lot of fun making these videos. Thank you guys for watching.